In the Swiss canton of Glaris in 1782, a horrifying spectacle unfolded. A poor maidservant named Anna Göldi stood accused of a grave crime, witchcraft, and as she awaited her fate, she unknowingly stepped into the annals of history as the last official witch trial and execution in Europe. Now we often think of witches and covens and broomsticks, but back then, being called a witch was a serious accusation, a way to explain things that were not easily understood. And when someone like Göldi, a servant in a small town, was charged with such a crime, the outcome was seldom pleasant. But how did this poor girl end up at the gallows? Let's find out. Our story begins in the late 18th century in the Swiss village of Ennetbergen. Anna Göldi was born in 1769. She was a servant, a maidservant, a simple rural girl without much opportunity in life. One day in 1782, she went to work for a wealthy and influential man named Johann Jacob Tschudi. He was a physician and also a judge, a respected member of the community. But there was a darkness lurking beneath the surface. Tschudi had a 5-year-old daughter named Salome, and he claimed that the girl had fallen ill. According to Tschudi, Anna was using witchcraft to torment his daughter. It all started with an unsettling incident. Tschudi entered the house one evening and found his daughter engaged in a strange activity. Salome was chewing pins, metal pins that glistened on her tongue. When he questioned her, she responded in a way that chilled him to the bone. She told her father that the pins were in her bread, placed there by none other than Anna Göldi. That's what she said. In those times, the idea of a young girl casually eating pins seems more like a scene from a horror movie. The thought of pins or needles in food is still off-putting today. Imagine the reaction in the 18th century. Naturally, this disturbing episode raised suspicions, and the focus shifted to Anna Göldi, the servant. Tschudi, a man of authority and influence, wasted no time in acting. Despite the lack of any substantial proof, he dismissed Anna from service and wasted no time in accusing her of the unthinkable, witchcraft, and to bolster his claims, he used his daughter's troubling habit of eating pins as hard evidence. Anna, shocked and scared, didn't stick around to defend herself. She packed her bags and left the town quickly. However, the shadow of suspicion loomed large. Soon, a reward was announced for information leading to Anna's capture. The small town of Ennetbergen became a hunting ground, not for wild animals, but for a runaway servant. As days turned into weeks, Anna's absence weighed heavily on the town's residents. It wasn't long before word spread that Anna Göldi was spotted in a neighboring village. This news triggered an immediate response. Local officials jumped into action. They wanted to bring Anna back to face the music. But why were they so eager to bring her back? Was it truly because of her supposed crime? Or were there other forces at play? The answer, as it often does, lies in the complexities of human nature. Anna, now a fugitive, tried to hide. But she was found and brought back to the town where it all began. She became a prisoner, confined to the very place that had become synonymous with her fear. The walls of the building where she once worked seemed to close in on her, turning each room into a chamber of torment. It was in this moment of desperation that the wheels of the farce known as justice began to turn. Officials, desperate to save face and shield the tarnished reputation of their esteemed townsperson, saw in Göldi the perfect scapegoat, rather than investigating further or seeking the truth. They chose to sacrifice her. The true scandal, whatever it may have been, was buried under accusations of witchcraft. Anna's trial was not a search for the truth. It was a sham, a mere formality to convict an already accused. Her trial was a travesty. It was a charade designed to protect the powerful and punish the weak. The trial was held on May 3rd, 1782. The charge was serious, but the evidence, if you can call it that, was flimsy, to say the least. The main witness, Judge Göldi, painted a picture of a servant possessed by the devil. He spoke of pins found in his daughters, bread and milk, testimony that was more fiction than fact. But it wasn't just the lack of solid evidence that made this trial a mockery of justice. It was the blatant disregard for Anna's rights. She had no lawyer to defend her, no one to stand up and demand a fair trial. She was left to navigate the complexities of a legal system that was stacked against her. But the most telling part of the trial was not the evidence or the lack thereof, but the confessions. Anna, under immense pressure and likely tortured, confessed to a pact with the devil. She admitted to casting spells and bewitching the judge's daughter. These confessions were coerced. They were the product of fear and pain, not free will. And yet these confessions, these cries of a tormented soul, were enough to seal her fate. The court found her guilty. There was no doubt in their minds. Anna Göldi was a witch. The court handed down its verdict. She was to be publicly pilloried. This was a common punishment in those times. A pillory is a wooden device that confines a person's head and arms, leaving them exposed to public ridicule and sometimes even physical harm. Just imagine standing in a crowded square, your head locked in a wooden vice, the jeers and anger of the crowd echoing around you. It's a sobering thought. But for Anna, this was not the end. A powerful faction, likely influenced by Judge Göldi, demanded a harsher sentence. They wanted a death sentence. This group was not satisfied with the idea of a public pillory. They wanted to make an example out of Anna, a spectacle that would send a message throughout the land. It was a classic case of having your cake and eating it too. The authorities could condemn Anna for the crimes against the girl while simultaneously shielding the true culprit, Tochi, whose actions had actually endangered the child. On June 1782, Anna met her fate. She was executed in secret, away from the prying eyes of the public. Early in the morning, she was beheaded. It was a swift, silent end to a tormented life. Her head was dropped into a nearby pit, a grim and unceremonious end for a human being. There was no funeral, no prayers, no chance for a dignified burial. It was as if they wanted to erase her from existence, both literally and figuratively. The timing was significant. It was summer, a season usually associated with warmth and life, but her execution was timed for a cold morning. The secrecy of the execution was itself a confession of sorts. It was the authorities' way of saying we have something to hide. They wanted to spare the town, and indeed the rest of Europe, the sight of a woman losing her head quite literally. It was a brutal reminder of a bygone era, an era when fear and superstition held sway over reason and compassion. News of the execution spread like wildfire across Europe. People were shocked. Many saw it as a barbaric relic of a bygone era, a brutal reminder of the dark side of humanity. Newspapers debated the merits of the case, and intellectuals voiced their outrage. The story of the last witch of Europe became a cause célèbre. Göldi's story was not merely about a witch hunt. It was about the abuse of power, the lust for control, and the willingness to sacrifice innocence at the altar of reputation and societal norms. For over 200 years, her family fought to clear her name, becoming ambassadors of justice in a world that had long forgotten their ancestors' name. Their quest was a testament to the enduring power of a single individual's fight for recognition and respect, no matter how long it takes. Finally, in 2008, Göldi received the justice she deserved. The canton of Glarus, where she was executed, acknowledged that her trial was illegal. They labeled her a victim of judicial murder. It was a step towards closure for her family and a symbolic victory for justice. However, the real victory lies in ensuring that Anna's story is not forgotten. Her story is a reminder of how fragile justice can be, how easily it can be swayed by fear and prejudice. Today, Anna's story lives on through the ages. Her ordeal serves as a grim reminder of the lengths to which fear and societal pressures can drive people. The story of the last witch of Europe is a haunting tale, a testament to the darkest chapters of human history. But it's also a story of courage, of a young woman who stood accused, and the unwavering pursuit of justice by her descendants. It's a story that compels us to confront the shadows of our past and strive for a future, where understanding and empathy prevail over fear and persecution. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more historical tales. Thank you for watching.